Harry Wilson's hand freezes on the ornate door handle as his eyes lock onto the writhing mass of bioluminescent tentacles before him. The Hazari female, Rosa, emits a startled chirp, her alien features contorting in what Harry can only assume is shock. This is how Hazari mate, he realizes with dawning horror. And he's just stumbled into their most sacred act. "I'm so sorry," Harry stammers, backing out of the restricted area of the Hazari embassy. His mind races, grasping for diplomatic protocol to salvage this disaster. As Earth's ambassador to the Hazari, he's just committed the ultimate faux pas. The door slides shut, but the damage is done. Alarms blare through the embassy, drowning out Harry's racing heartbeat. Within moments, he's surrounded by stern-faced Hazari guards, their tentacles pulsing with agitated patterns of light. "Ambassador Wilson," a deep voice booms, "you will explain yourself to the High Council immediately." Harry swallows hard, straightening his rumpled suit. The fragile alliance between humans and Hazari hangs by a thread, and he's just taken scissors to it. As he's escorted to the council chambers, scenarios of interstellar war flash through his mind. The High Council looms before him, a semicircle of imposing Hazari elders. Their collective gaze bores into Harry as he stands, palms sweating, to plead his case. "Esteemed Council," he begins, voice wavering, "I assure you, my intrusion was purely accidental. I meant no disrespect to your sacred practices." A ripple of bioluminescent communication passes through the council. The lead elder speaks, tentacles twitching with barely contained anger. "You have violated our most private rituals, Ambassador. This transgression cannot be ignored." Just as Harry braces for the diplomatic hammer to fall, a familiar voice cuts through the tension. "Wait!" Rosa steps forward, her tentacles pulsing with an intricate pattern Harry can't decipher. I am curious about human mating practices." The council chamber erupts in a cacophony of chirps and flashing tentacles. Harry stands, bewildered, as the Hazari debate in their incomprehensible language. Finally, the lead elder turns back to him. "Ambassador Wilson, we propose an unprecedented exchange. To prevent further misunderstandings, you will demonstrate human courting and mating behaviors to Rosa under our supervision." Harry's jaw drops. What?" He looks from the elder to Rosa, whose alien features somehow manage to convey eager curiosity. "Surely you can't be serious." "We are always serious about cultural understanding, Ambassador," the elder replies. "Do you accept this task for the sake of our alliance?" Caught between duty and discomfort, Harry nods stiffly. "I accept." Within hours, Harry finds himself in a sterile laboratory, surrounded by monitoring equipment and watchful xenobiologists. Rosa sits across from him, tentacles coiled expectantly. "So," Harry begins, clearing his throat, "human dating often starts with conversation, getting to know each other." Rosa chirps in confusion. "But where are your pleasure tentacles? How do you stimulate without bioluminescence?" Harry's face burns as he fumbles for an explanation. "Well, we use our hands for, manual pleasure." Rosa's eyes widen, a cascade of colors rippling through her tentacles. "So this is how humans manually pleasure each other," she exclaims, her translator struggling with the concept. As Harry attempts to clarify, acutely aware of the recording devices capturing every awkward moment, a commotion erupts outside the lab. Angry voices and the sound of breaking glass filter through. A frantic Hazari aide bursts in. "Ambassador, anti-alien protesters have gathered outside. They're claiming this exchange degrades human dignity. It's all over Earth's media networks." Harry groans, realizing his personal embarrassment has just become a global diplomatic crisis. With Rosa watching expectantly and the fate of human-Hazari relations hanging in the balance, he takes a deep breath. Somehow, he has to turn this mortifying cultural exchange into a triumph of interspecies understanding. Harry's mind raced as he tried to process the rapidly unfolding situation. The lab's sterile white walls seemed to close in on him as he fumbled for a response to the aide's urgent news. "How bad is it out there?" he asked, his voice tight with tension. The aide's tentacles flickered with agitation. "The crowd is growing by the minute, Ambassador. We need to evacuate you immediately." Before Harry could reply, the lab's communication panel lit up. The stern face of the Hazari High Council leader filled the screen. Ambassador Wilson, this situation has become untenable. We are relocating the cultural exchange to a neutral location. Within hours, Harry found himself aboard a sleek shuttle, hurtling towards a space station orbiting Earth. The planet's blue sphere receded in the viewport as he sat in stunned silence, Rosa's bioluminescent form pulsing softly in the seat beside him. As they docked with the station, Harry's apprehension grew. The airlock hissed open, revealing a tall, slender woman with sharp features and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Ambassador Wilson, I'm Dr. Ellen Chen," she said, extending her hand. "I'll be overseeing the remainder of your exchange." Harry shook her hand, noting the firm grip. "Doctor, I'm not sure I'm the right person for this anymore. The situation on Earth," Dr. Chen cut him off with a wave, "is precisely why we need to continue, Ambassador. Follow me." She led them through the station's pristine corridors to a conference room. As they settled in, Dr. Chen activated a holoscreen, displaying a dizzying array of Hazari anatomical diagrams. "Now," she began, her tone clinical, "let's discuss the finer points of Hazari physiology." Over the next few hours, Harry's head spun with information about bioluminescent communication, tentacle sensitivity, and alien pheromones. Rosa, meanwhile, chirped and thrummed with curiosity as she pored over human courtship manuals. "But why do humans press their feeding orifices together?" she asked, her translator struggling with the concept of kissing. Harry felt his face flush. It's a sign of affection," he stammered. Dr. Chen interjected. "Perhaps a practical demonstration would be more effective. Shall we proceed to the observation room?" The observation room was a stark contrast to the rest of the station. Soft lighting and earthy tones created a more intimate atmosphere. Harry's palms began to sweat as he realized the moment of truth had arrived. "So," he began, clearing his throat, "in human courtship, we often start with compliments. Rosa, your bioluminescence is quite beautiful." Rosa's tentacles rippled with a cascade of colors. "Thank you, Harry. Your epidermal covering is pleasingly symmetrical." Harry couldn't help but chuckle. As he reached out to gently touch Rosa's arm, a common human gesture of comfort, her tentacles suddenly flared with a blinding light. He stumbled back, momentarily blinded. "Oh, I apologize," Rosa chirped, her translator barely keeping up with her flustered state. "I was attempting to reciprocate your touch with a mating display." As Harry's vision cleared, he found himself staring at Rosa. The soft pulsing of her bioluminescence, the alien grace of her movements. He was surprised to feel a flutter in his chest that had nothing to do with diplomatic duty. Dr. Chen's voice cut through his reverie. "Ambassador, perhaps we should take a break." In the hallway outside, Harry leaned against the cool metal wall. "Doctor, I think I might be in over my head here." Dr. Chen's expression softened slightly. "Ambassador, what you're feeling is not uncommon in these situations. But you must remember the delicate nature of our mission. Any genuine attachment could have serious consequences, both physiologically and diplomatically." Harry nodded, trying to push aside the confusing mix of emotions. As they prepared to return to the observation room, a flashing red light on Dr. Chen's comm device caught his attention. "What's that?" he asked. Dr. Chen's face paled as she read the message. "It appears we have a security breach. Someone on Earth has intercepted our private feeds." Harry's stomach dropped. As if on cue, Rosa emerged from the observation room, her tentacles swirling with patterns Harry was beginning to recognize as concern. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her alien features somehow conveying genuine worry. As Harry looked between Rosa and Dr. Chen, he realized that despite the growing complications, he felt an unexpected connection to the Hazari female. With a deep breath, he steeled himself for whatever challenges lay ahead. "We'll figure it out," he said, surprising himself with his persistence. "Now, where were we with those human courtship rituals?" As they re-entered the observation room, none of them were aware of the storm brewing back on Earth, where the intercepted footage was already being twisted into anti-alien propaganda. The delicate dance of diplomacy and personal connection continued aboard the station. blissfully ignorant of the growing tensions that threatened to tear apart the fragile alliance between humans and Hazari. As Harry and Rosa re-entered the observation room, the air felt thick and heavy. Harry wiped his brow, attributing his sudden discomfort to nerves. "Now, where were we with those human courtship rituals?" he asked, forcing a smile. Rosa's tentacles pulsed with anticipation. "You mentioned something called dancing." "Right," Harry nodded, stepping closer to her. "It's a form of nonverbal communication and bonding. Here, I'll show you." He reached out to take Rosa's appendages, mimicking a dance hold. As he began to sway, explaining the basics of rhythm and movement, a wave of dizziness washed over him. The room seemed to tilt and spin. "Harry?" Rosa's chirp sounded distant. "Your epidermal coloration is changing." He tried to focus on her concerned face, but his vision blurred. "I'm fine. Just a little—" His knees buckled, and he stumbled forward. Rosa reacted instinctively, her tentacles wrapping around Harry to steady him. A cascade of bioluminescent patterns rippled across her skin, pulsing in a soothing rhythm. As they made contact, Harry felt a tingling sensation spread from the points of contact. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the haze. "Terminate the session immediately. Medical team to the observation room, now." Everything moved in a blur. Harry was vaguely aware of being rushed to the medical bay, Rosa's concerned chirps following them down the corridor. The cool surface of an examination table pressed against his back as Dr. Chen leaned over him, her face a mask of concentration. "Elevated heart rate, perspiration, pupil dilation," she muttered, scanning his vitals. Her eyes widened as she studied the results. This can't be right. Harry's head began to clear, the dizziness subsiding. "What's happening to me?" Before Dr. Chen could answer, the medical bay doors hissed open. Rosa burst in, her tentacles flaring with agitated patterns. "Is Harry all right? I must stay with him." "Ambassador Rosa, please," Dr. Chen began, but Rosa moved to Harry's side, her appendages gently caressing his arm. The touch sent another wave of tingles through his body. "Fascinating," Dr. Chen breathed, watching her instruments. "Ambassador Wilson, are you aware that you're emitting pheromones? Pheromones that seem to be specifically attuned to Hazari physiology?" Harry blinked in confusion. "I'm what?" "It appears the contact with Rosa's bioluminescent tentacles has triggered a biochemical reaction in your system," Dr. Chen explained, her voice a mix of scientific curiosity and concern. "You've absorbed trace amounts of Hazari pheromones, and your body is adapting." Rosa's translator crackled as she processed this information. "Is this dangerous for Harry?" "I don't believe so," Dr. Chen replied cautiously. "But it's unprecedented. We need to run more tests and—" A loud klaxon cut her off. Red emergency lights began to pulse throughout the medical bay. "Attention all personnel," a computerized voice announced. "Station-wide quarantine protocols have been activated. Please remain in your current locations until further notice." Dr. Chen's comm device chirped urgently. She answered, her face growing grave as she listened. "Understood, Admiral. We'll cooperate fully with the investigation." She turned to Harry and Rosa, who were still connected by Rosa's tentacles. "That was Admiral Zhang. He's ordered a full quarantine of the station. There's suspicion that the environmental controls in the observation room were tampered with." Harry felt a chill that had nothing to do with his condition. "Tampered? By whom?" "They're not sure, but there are concerns about a group called the Purists," Dr. Chen explained. "They may have infiltrated our systems." Rosa's tentacles pulsed with alarm. "What does this mean for our exchange?" Dr. Chen sighed. "For now, it means we're all confined to the station. And you two," she gestured to Harry and Rosa, "are our primary subjects of interest. Whatever happened in that room, it's changed both of you in ways we don't yet understand." Harry looked at Rosa, suddenly aware of the faint glow emanating from her skin. He could sense patterns and rhythms in her bioluminescence that he'd never noticed before. More surprisingly, he found he could almost understand them. "Dr. Chen," he said slowly, I think I can read Rosa's emotions through her light patterns." Both Rosa and Dr. Chen stared at him in astonishment. Rosa's tentacles flared with a complex sequence of colors and pulses. "He's right," Rosa chirped, her translator struggling to keep up with her excitement. "He's interpreting my bioluminescent communication with 92% accuracy. This is unprecedented." As Dr. Chen rushed to document this development, Harry felt a mix of wonder and apprehension. Whatever was happening to him, to them, was beyond anything covered in his diplomatic training. He could sense Rosa's own cocktail of emotions: curiosity, concern, and something deeper, more primal. Their eyes met, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As the station's quarantine protocols locked into place around them, Harry realized that the boundaries between human and Hazari were blurring in ways no one could have predicted. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a transformation that would challenge the very foundations of human-Hazari relations, and possibly reshape the future of both species. As the station's quarantine protocols locked into place, Harry felt a surge of adrenaline course through his body. The tingling sensation that had begun during his contact with Rosa intensified, spreading from his fingertips to his core. Dr. Chen's fingers flew across her datapad, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Ambassador Wilson, your vital signs are extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this before." Harry tried to focus on her words, but his attention kept drifting back to Rosa. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed in a hypnotic rhythm, and he found himself instinctively interpreting their meaning: concern, curiosity, and a hint of excitement. "Dr. Chen," Harry said, his voice hoarse, "what's happening to me?" The doctor's eyes widened as she studied her readings. "It appears that your prolonged exposure to Rosa's biochemicals has triggered something in your genetic makeup. There's a protein in your bloodstream that I've never encountered before." Rosa chirped, her translator struggling to keep up with her rapid speech. "Is Harry in danger? Can we reverse this process?" Dr. Chen shook her head, a mix of concern and scientific fascination evident in her expression. "I don't believe he's in immediate danger, but we need to study this further. This protein, it seems to be facilitating your compatibility with Hazari biology, Harry. I'm calling it xenoprotein H." As if on cue, Admiral Zhang's stern face appeared on a nearby screen. "Dr. Chen, I need a full report on Ambassador Wilson's condition, and I'm sending Lieutenant Kira Novak to assist you. She's a xenobiologist specializing in alien physiology." The doctor nodded, her fingers already flying over her datapad. "Understood, Admiral. We'll begin a more thorough examination immediately." As Dr. Chen prepared her equipment, Harry turned to Rosa. Her tentacles reached out, gently wrapping around his arm. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through his body, and he gasped. "Rosa," he whispered, "I can feel what you're feeling. Is that normal?" Before she could respond, the medical bay doors hissed open, revealing a tall, athletic woman with short-cropped hair and piercing green eyes. "Lieutenant Kira Novak, reporting for duty," she announced, striding into the room. Dr. Chen barely looked up from her work. "Lieutenant, excellent timing. We're about to begin a more in-depth examination of Ambassador Wilson and his interaction with Ambassador Rosa." Kira's eyes widened as she took in the scene before her. Harry, still connected to Rosa by her tentacles, both of them pulsing with a soft, synchronized glow. "Fascinating," she breathed. "I've never seen anything like this." Over the next few hours, Harry and Rosa underwent a battery of tests. They were asked to engage in progressively more intimate physical contact, starting with simple touch and escalating to more complex interactions. With each new level of intimacy, Harry felt his body changing, adapting. As Rosa's tentacles caressed his face, Harry's skin began to emit a faint pulsing light. Dr. Chen's instruments beeped frantically. "His body temperature is rising to match Rosa's," she announced, her voice tight with excitement. Kira leaned in, studying the patterns of light dancing across Harry's skin. "And look at Rosa's bioluminescence. It's synchronizing with Harry's heartbeat." As the experiment progressed, Harry felt a deep connection forming between himself and Rosa. It was as if their very essences were intertwining, becoming one. He could sense her thoughts, her emotions, as clearly as if they were his own. Suddenly, a surge of energy coursed through them both. The lights in the medical bay flickered, and alarms began to blare. "What's happening?" Kira shouted over the din. Dr. Chen's fingers flew over her console. "There's been a station-wide power fluctuation. It seems to have originated here." As the alarms faded, Admiral Zhang's face appeared on the screen once more, his expression grim. "Dr. Chen, we've detected a security breach. Someone's been manipulating our surveillance feeds, transmitting edited footage back to Earth." Harry's heart sank. He could only imagine how their experiment might appear to those who didn't understand what was happening. "There's more," Zhang continued. "A human rights lawyer named Marcus Stern has filed a lawsuit against the government, claiming we're violating laws on genetic manipulation. The situation on Earth is tense." As the implications of Zhang's words sank in, Harry felt Rosa's tentacles tighten around him. He turned to meet her alien gaze, seeing his own mix of fear and purpose reflected there. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the tension. "Admiral, Harry's xenoprotein H levels are increasing exponentially. If this continues, he might develop the ability to communicate using bioluminescent signals." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled over them. Harry looked down at his hands, watching the faint pulses of light dancing across his skin. He thought of the millions of people back on Earth, of the fear and mistrust that had plagued human-Hazari relations for so long. As he met Rosa's gaze once more, he realized that they stood at the precipice of something monumental. Whatever happened next would change the course of history for both their species. Kira's voice broke through his reverie. "Dr. Chen, look at these readings. I think we're ready for the next phase of the experiment." Harry took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. As he and Rosa prepared to delve deeper into their unprecedented connection, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to cross a point of no return. Return. Harry's eyes locked with Rosa's, a silent understanding passing between them. As they prepared for the next phase of the experiment, the medical bay doors suddenly sealed shut with a hiss. "What's happening?" Kira exclaimed, rushing to the control panel. Dr. Chen's fingers flew across her console. "The station's gone into full lockdown. We're trapped in here." A surge of energy coursed through Harry and Rosa, their bodies pulsing with synchronized light. The medical equipment around them began to malfunction, screens flickering and alarms blaring. "Their bioresonance levels are off the charts," Dr. Chen shouted over the din. "I've never seen anything like this." Harry felt Rosa's tentacles tighten around him as the room's temperature began to fluctuate wildly. Sweat beaded on his brow, then instantly chilled in the rapidly cooling air. "The life support systems are failing," Kira reported, her voice tight with concern. "Gravity's destabilizing too." As if on cue, Harry felt his feet leave the floor. He and Rosa floated upward, still connected by her tentacles. The sensation of weightlessness combined with the intense bioresonance sent waves of dizziness through him. "Harry, your skin!" Dr. Chen gasped, pointing at his arms. Harry looked down to see patches of his skin beginning to glow, mimicking Rosa's bioluminescent patterns. At the same time, he noticed Rosa's tentacles starting to retract, her body subtly shifting to a more humanoid form. "What's happening to us?" Harry asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Before anyone could answer, Admiral Zhang's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression grim. "Dr. Chen, we've identified the saboteur. It's Dr. Marcus Stern, the human rights lawyer. He's a member of the Purists and has triggered a cascading failure in our life support systems." The Admiral's words were cut short as the screen went dark, plunging the medical bay into semi-darkness, illuminated only by the pulsing glow of Harry and Rosa's bodies. In the dimness, Harry became acutely aware of a new sensation. He could feel Rosa's thoughts, her emotions, as clearly as if they were his own. Their nervous systems had become interlinked through their shared bioluminescence. "Rosa," he said, turning to face her, I can understand you, without the translator." Rosa's alien features contorted into what Harry now recognized as an expression of wonder. "I feel it too, Harry. Our minds are connected." Dr. Chen and Kira watched in amazement as Harry and Rosa communicated without words, their bodies pulsing with complex patterns of light. "We need to get out of here," Harry said suddenly, turning to the others. "We can help." Kira shook her head. The doors are sealed. We're locked in. But Harry and Rosa were already moving towards the exit, their movements perfectly synchronized. Harry placed his hand on the control panel, and Rosa's tentacles joined him. Together they closed their eyes, their shared bioluminescence intensifying. To Dr. Chen and Kira's astonishment, the door's locking mechanism began to whir and click. With a hiss, the sealed doors slid open. "How did you do that?" Kira asked, her eyes wide. "We combined our knowledge," Rosa explained. "Harry's understanding of human technology, enhanced by my Hazari intuition." As they stepped into the corridor, they were met with chaos. Crew members floated helplessly in the malfunctioning gravity, while emergency lights flashed erratically. The air was thin and growing colder by the minute. Harry and Rosa moved through the disorder with uncanny grace, their bodies adapting to the shifting gravity. They reached out to trapped crew members, guiding them to safety with gentle pulses of bioluminescent light. As they made their way towards the station's control center, Harry felt a surge of foreign emotions: fear, anger, desperation. "Rosa," he said, "I think I can sense Stern. He's nearby." They rounded a corner and came face to face with the lawyer. Stern's eyes widened in horror as he took in Harry's transformed appearance. "What have you done?" Stern screamed, his voice cracking. "You've contaminated humanity." Harry felt Rosa's calming presence in his mind as they approached the unhinged lawyer. Together they reached out, their synchronized movements creating a hypnotic display of light and motion. Stern's anger gave way to confusion, then a blank calmness as Harry and Rosa subdued him without a single violent action. As Stern slumped to the floor, unconscious, Admiral Zhang and a security team rounded the corner. The Admiral's jaw dropped as he took in the scene before him. "Ambassador Wilson? Ambassador Rosa? What's happened to you?" Harry and Rosa turned to face the Admiral, their bodies still pulsing with shared light. "Admiral," Harry said, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance, "we have much to discuss." Behind them, through the station's viewport, a Hazari diplomatic vessel came into view, its arrival heralding a new chapter in human-Hazari relations. As Harry and Rosa stood side by side, their transformed bodies a testament to the potential for unity between their species, they knew that nothing would ever be the same again. As Harry and Rosa stood side by side, their transformed bodies pulsing with shared light, Admiral Zhang's expression shifted from shock to dedication. He quickly composed himself and addressed the situation at hand. "Ambassador Wilson, Ambassador Rosa, we need to secure the station and assess the damage. Can you assist us?" Harry nodded, feeling Rosa's agreement through their neural link. "Of course, Admiral. We'll do whatever we can to help." Over the next few hours, Harry and Rosa worked alongside the station's crew to restore systems and stabilize life support. Their newfound abilities proved invaluable, allowing them to interface directly with malfunctioning equipment and coordinate efforts with uncanny efficiency. As the immediate crisis subsided, Dr. Chen and Lieutenant Novak approached Harry and Rosa, their eyes wide with scientific curiosity. "Ambassadors," Dr. Chen said, her voice barely containing her excitement, "we need to study your condition more thoroughly. The implications of your transformation are staggering." Harry felt a flicker of apprehension from Rosa, which he quickly soothed through their empathic link. He turned to Dr. Chen and nodded. "We understand, Doctor. We're as eager to understand what's happening to us as you are." In the days that followed, a specialized research facility was established on the station. Harry and Rosa found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of tests and experiments, their every biological function scrutinized and analyzed. Dr. Chen stood before a holographic display, gesturing at the intricate patterns of light that represented Harry and Rosa's neural activity. "As you can see, their brains are in perfect synchronization. They're communicating on a level we've never seen before." Lieutenant Novak leaned in, her green eyes narrowed in concentration. "And look at these bioluminescent patterns. They're not just random flashes. There's a language here." As the scientists debated and theorized, Harry and Rosa underwent a series of controlled experiments to explore the full extent of their new abilities. They found they could manipulate electronic systems with a mere touch, their combined human and Hazari knowledge, allowing them to interface with technology in ways previously thought impossible. During one particularly intense session, Harry and Rosa stood facing each other in the center of the research lab, their bodies glowing with pulsating light. Dr. Chen's voice came over the intercom. "We're going to attempt a full biological synchronization. Are you ready?" Harry met Rosa's alien gaze, feeling her mix of excitement and nervousness. "We're ready," he responded for both of them. As they reached out to touch each other, a surge of energy coursed through their bodies. The room's sensors went wild, alarms blaring as readings spiked off the charts. Harry felt himself merging with Rosa on a cellular level, their very DNA intertwining in a dance of human and Hazari genetics. When the energy surge subsided, Harry and Rosa stood transformed once again. Their bodies had taken on characteristics of both species. Harry's skin now shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, while Rosa's form had become more humanoid. Dr. Chen burst into the room, her face flushed with excitement. "Incredible! Your physiologies have merged in a way we never thought possible. This could revolutionize our understanding of xenobiology." As the implications of their transformation began to sink in, Admiral Zhang entered the lab, his expression grave. "We have a situation," he announced. "News of your condition has leaked to the media. Earth is in an uproar, and the Hazari High Council is facing a political crisis." Harry felt a wave of concern wash over him, both his own and Rosa's. "What kind of response are we looking at, Admiral?" Zhang's frown deepened. "It's mixed. Some see this as a breakthrough in interspecies relations. Others, well, let's just say the purists are having a field day. The United Earth government is convening an emergency session to debate the ethical and legal implications of your condition." Before Harry could respond, an alert sounded on Zhang's communicator. The Admiral's face paled as he read the message. "We've received intelligence that the purists are planning a large-scale attack on key human Hazari diplomatic installations. Given your unique abilities, I'm proposing we integrate you into a special task force to counter this threat." Harry and Rosa exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness allowing them to come to a decision in an instant. "We volunteer," they said in unison, their voices carrying an otherworldly harmony. Zhang nodded, a mix of relief and concern on his face. "I had a feeling you'd say that. But I warn you, this decision won't be without controversy. Many believe you should be kept in isolation for further study." As if on cue, Dr. Chen approached, her datapad clutched tightly in her hand. "Admiral, ambassadors, I've made a startling discovery. The xenoprotein H in Harry's system, it's replicating and mutating. There's a possibility it could trigger similar transformations in other humans." The room fell silent as the weight of this revelation settled over them. Harry could feel Rosa's mind racing alongside his own, considering the implications of this discovery. Zhang was the first to break the silence. "If this is true, we could potentially create an entire core of human Hazari hybrids. The tactical advantages would be significant." Harry felt a surge of emotions, excitement, fear, responsibility, coursing through his and Rosa's shared consciousness. They stood on the precipice of a new era, one that could reshape the very nature of human Hazari relations. As the gravity of their situation sank in, Harry and Rosa knew that their actions in the coming days would have far-reaching consequences for both their species. The line between human and Hazari was blurring, and they were at the center of it all. Zhang's communicator beeped again, drawing their attention. "We've got movement," he announced, his voice tense. "The purists are mobilizing faster than we anticipated. We need to act now." Harry and Rosa stepped forward, their bodies glowing with shared purpose. "We're ready, Admiral," Harry said, feeling Rosa's dedication mingling with his own. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." As they prepared to leave the research facility and confront the looming threat, Harry and Rosa knew that they were no longer just ambassadors or test subjects. They had become something entirely new, a bridge between two species, and perhaps the key to a shared future among the stars. As Harry and Rosa prepared to confront the purest threat, events on Earth and beyond were already in motion that would reshape the future of human-Hazari relations. Admiral Zhang's communicator chirped again, this time with a message from the highest echelons of the United Earth government. He read it quickly, his brow furrowing. "There's been a development," Zhang announced, turning to face Harry, Rosa, and Dr. Chen. "The UEG and Hazari High Council have jointly approved a controlled experiment to explore the potential of Harry's condition." Dr. Chen's eyes widened. "They want to replicate the transformation?" Zhang nodded. "A small group of screened human volunteers will be exposed to Harry's mutated xenoprotein H. The experiment will take place in a new biocontainment facility on the moon." Harry felt a mix of emotions surge through his connection with Rosa. Curiosity, apprehension, and a sense of responsibility. "What does this mean for us, Admiral?" he asked. "For now, your mission remains the same," Zhang replied. "We need you to focus on the immediate purest threat. Dr. Chen will oversee the moon experiment." Over the next weeks, as Harry and Rosa underwent intensive training for their anti-purist operation, reports from the lunar facility trickled in. The volunteers were exhibiting changes similar to Harry's, developing patches of bioluminescence and increased sensitivity to Hazari biochemicals. However, the transformations varied significantly between individuals. During a particularly grueling training session, Harry and Rosa demonstrated their unique combat abilities to a group of human and Hazari officers. Their bodies moved in perfect synchronization, their shared neural connection allowing them to anticipate each other's moves with uncanny precision. As they finished their demonstration, Lieutenant Novak approached, her datapad displaying the latest results from the moon. "Dr. Chen has made some interesting observations," she reported. "The variability in transformation seems to be a key factor. Some subjects are showing more pronounced changes than others." Harry absorbed this information, feeling Rosa's curiosity mingling with his own. "Any theories on why?" Novak shook her head. "Not yet. Dr. Chen is focusing her research on understanding these factors. She believes it could be crucial to harnessing the full potential of the hybrid transformation." As they continued their preparations, news of the moon experiment and the formation of their hybrid task force began to spread. Public opinion quickly polarized, with pro-integration groups hailing the developments as a new era in human evolution and interstellar cooperation. Meanwhile, conservative factions on both Earth and the Hazari homeworld intensified their opposition. The growing discord did not go unnoticed by the purists. Intelligence reports indicated they were accelerating their plans for a major attack, having acquired advanced weaponry capable of targeting specific genetic markers. Admiral Zhang called an emergency briefing. "We've received credible information that the purists have developed weapons that can single out and eliminate hybrid individuals," he announced gravely. "We need to deploy your task force immediately." Harry felt a surge of perseverance through his link with Rosa. "We're ready, Admiral," he said, speaking for both of them. As final preparations for their deployment were underway, a message arrived from Dr. Chen on the moon. Her face appeared on the main view screen, excitement evident in her features. "We've had a breakthrough," she announced. "We've identified a key genetic sequence that appears to regulate the extent of the hybrid transformation. This could allow us to control the degree of change, potentially enabling individuals to adapt their physiology as needed while retaining their original species identity." The implications of this discovery sent ripples through the assembled team. Admiral Zhang nodded thoughtfully. "This could change everything, but for now, we need to focus on the immediate threat." He turned to Harry and Rosa. "We've received intelligence that a purist cell has infiltrated a joint human-Hazari research facility on Mars. Their intention is to sabotage critical life support systems. Your team's first assignment is to neutralize this threat and secure the facility." Harry and Rosa exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness allowing them to communicate volumes in an instant. They understood the weight of this mission. Its success or failure would significantly impact public perception of hybrid individuals and the future of human-Hazari cooperation. As they boarded their specially modified transport ship, Harry felt a mix of anticipation and tenacity flowing through his connection with Rosa. The rest of their hybrid team, a mix of partially transformed humans and adapted Hazari, took their positions, each member a testament to the potential of their combined species. The ship's engines hummed to life, and as they lifted off from the station, Harry gazed out at the star-filled expanse. He knew that somewhere out there, The purists were preparing their next move. But here, in this ship, a new form of cooperation between humans and Hazari was taking shape. As they accelerated towards Mars, Harry turned to Rosa. "Whatever happens," he said, "we face it together." Rosa's alien features formed what Harry now recognized as a smile. "Together," she agreed, her bioluminescence pulsing in harmony with his own. The ship streaked through space, carrying its unique crew towards their first real-world test. The fate of the Martian facility, and perhaps the future of human-Hazari relations, hung in the balance. As they approached the red planet, Harry and Rosa prepared themselves for the challenges ahead, knowing that their actions in the coming hours would resonate far beyond the confines of their mission. Would resonate far beyond the confines of their ship. As they approached Mars, the vibrant red orb growing larger in their view screen, Harry's communicator chirped urgently. Admiral Zhang's holographic image materialized, his face etched with concern. "We have a critical update," Zhang announced without preamble. "The situation at the Martian research facility has escalated. The purists have seized control of the main reactor and are threatening a meltdown. If they succeed, the entire complex will be rendered uninhabitable." Harry felt Rosa's alarm mirroring his own through their neural link. "Understood, Admiral," he replied, his mind already racing to adapt their strategy. "We'll adjust our approach accordingly." As the transport ship entered Mars's thin atmosphere, the team hurriedly recalibrated their equipment. The facility's familiar silhouette came into view, its sleek domes now ominous under the crimson sky. The moment their ship touched down, they were met with a hail of weapons fire. Purist forces had established a perimeter, their advanced weaponry lighting up the Martian landscape. Harry's enhanced senses tingled, a sudden flash of intuition surging through him. "Movement! 3 o'clock!" he shouted, just as a group of purists emerged from behind a ridge. The hybrid team reacted instantly, their movements fluid and coordinated. Harry felt a rush of pride as he watched his comrades in action, their unique abilities complementing each other perfectly. As they fought their way towards the facility's entrance, Rosa's eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light. She pressed her hand against a nearby terminal, her adapted physiology interfacing directly with the system. "I'm in," she announced, her voice carrying an echo of digital frequencies. "The purists have fortified the main control room and reactor chamber. They've also... Harry, they're using the facility's internal sensors to track our movements." Harry nodded, processing the information. "Can you disable them?" Rosa's bioluminescent patterns pulsed as she concentrated. "Partially. I can create blind spots, but it'll take time to shut down the entire network." As they pushed deeper into the facility, Harry became aware of a faint, acrid scent in the air. His skin prickled with an instinctive warning. "Everyone, masks on!" he ordered, just as a thick greenish gas began seeping from the ventilation systems. Rosa's eyes widened in realization. "It's targeting our hybrid DNA," she said, her voice tight with concern. "The purist must have developed a weapon specific to our genetic markers." The team moved with even greater urgency, their movements precise and economical as they navigated the gas-filled corridors. Harry and Rosa found themselves relying more heavily on their shared neural connection, anticipating each other's actions with uncanny accuracy. As they approached the reactor control room, the resistance intensified. Purist forces, emboldened by their new weapon, pressed their attack with renewed vigor. In the heat of battle, Harry caught a glimpse of a figure through the control room's reinforced windows. A man in a lab coat, his face a mask of fanatical grit as he worked at the reactor controls. "That must be their leader," Harry said, gesturing towards the window. "We need to get in there before he can initiate a meltdown." Rosa nodded, her alien features set in iron will. "I can interface with the door controls, but it'll leave me vulnerable. Can you cover me?" Harry didn't need to respond verbally. Rosa could feel his affirmation through their link. As she pressed her hand against the door panel, Harry positioned himself protectively in front of her, his hybrid physiology allowing him to sense and deflect incoming attacks with preternatural speed. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing the control room beyond. At its center stood the purist leader, his hands hovering over a complex array of holographic controls. "Step away from the reactor controls," Harry commanded, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance that echoed his Hazari transformation. The man turned, his eyes widening in a mix of disgust and fascination as he took in Harry and Rosa's hybrid forms. "So, the abominations have arrived," he sneered. "I am Dr. Elias Vorn, and I will not allow you to undo years of scientific progress." Harry took a cautious step forward, his enhanced intuition warning him of the delicate situation. "Dr. Vorn, we're not here to undo anything. We're trying to prevent a catastrophe." Vorn's laugh was bitter. "Catastrophe? The real catastrophe is the erosion of our species' identities. I was there when xenoprotein H was first discovered. I saw the potential for destruction it held." As Vorn launched into a tirade about the purity of human and Hazari bloodlines, Harry sensed Rosa's presence in his mind. Through their link, he could feel her interfacing with the reactor's systems, slowly and carefully initiating a shutdown sequence. Harry kept his focus on Vorn, engaging him in debate, drawing on both his human empathy and newfound Hazari intuition to keep the scientist distracted. "Dr. Vorn, surely as a man of science, you can see the potential benefits of our transformation. The ability to adapt to new environments, to bridge the gap between species." Vorn's eyes narrowed, his hand inching towards a control panel. "Adapt? You speak of adaptation, but what you represent is extinction. The extinction of both pure humans and Hazari, and I will not allow that to happen, even if it cost me my life." With a sudden movement, Vorn lunged for the reactor controls. Harry reacted instantly, his hybrid reflexes allowing him to cross the room in a blur of motion. As he grappled with Vorn, he felt Rosa's presence grow stronger in his mind. "Now, Harry," Rosa's voice echoed in his thoughts. Moving as one, Harry and Rosa subdued Vorn and completed the reactor shutdown sequence. The control room's warning klaxons fell silent, replaced by the soft hum of systems returning to normal operation. As they secured Vorn and began to assess the situation, Harry's communicator crackled to life. Admiral Zhang's voice came through, tinged with both relief and excitement. "Excellent work, team. The summit on Jupiter has been monitoring your progress. Your success has had a significant impact on the discussions here, but we have more to deal with. We've uncovered evidence that the purist movement extends beyond just human extremists." Harry and Rosa exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness processing this new information. As they prepared to secure the facility and handle the aftermath of the crisis, they knew that their actions had set in motion changes that would reshape the future of human-Hazari relations. The immediate danger had passed, but as Harry looked out over the Martian landscape, he sensed that their journey and the challenges they would face were just getting started. Beginning. The successful resolution of the Martian crisis marked a turning point, setting in motion a series of events that would reshape the future of human-Hazari relations. Upon their return to Earth, Harry and Rosa found themselves thrust into the spotlight. Their unprecedented display of cooperation had captured the public imagination, shifting opinions on hybridization. As they stepped off the transport ship, they were greeted by a sea of faces, human, Hazari, and hybrid alike, all eager to catch a glimpse of the heroes who had averted disaster on Mars. Admiral Zhang met them on the tarmac, his usually stoic expression softened by a hint of pride. "Your actions have opened new doors," he said, gesturing towards a group of officials waiting nearby. "The United Earth government has made a decision." In the weeks that followed, Harry and Rosa watched as their mission's impact rippled through society. The establishment of the Interspecies Adaptation Institute on a remote Pacific island was announced with much fanfare. Dr. Chen, beaming with excitement, shared the news of her appointment as lead researcher. "We're on the brink of something extraordinary," she told them during a private briefing, "and we need you both. Your experiences, your unique bond, they're invaluable to our research." Harry felt a mix of anticipation and apprehension through his link with Rosa. The idea of being test subjects was daunting, but the potential benefits were too significant to ignore. The IAI quickly became a hub of frenetic activity. Researchers from both human and Hazari communities flocked to the facility, eager to be part of this groundbreaking work. Harry and Rosa found themselves at the center of it all, their days filled with tests, experiments, and endless questions. Dr. Chen's team made rapid progress. Within months, they had developed a procedure for temporary, reversible hybrid transformations. Harry watched in amazement as a human volunteer's skin took on a faint Hazari bioluminescence, only to fade away hours later. This addresses many of the ethical concerns raised at the Jupiter Summit, Dr. Chen explained, her eyes alight with enthusiasm. But we believe we can go further. She proposed an experimental procedure to enhance Harry and Rosa's hybrid abilities, involving a deep synchronization of their neural patterns. The risks were significant, but the potential benefits were too tempting to ignore. As they lay side by side in the laboratory, complex machinery humming around them, Harry reached out through their mental link. "Whatever happens, we face it together," he thought, echoing his words from the start of their Mars mission. Rosa's response came as a wave of warmth and reassurance. Then, as the procedure began, everything changed. Harry gasped as a flood of alien memories washed over him. He saw Hazari cities through Rosa's eyes, felt the texture of her childhood home, tasted foods he had never encountered. Beside him, Rosa trembled, her mind overwhelmed by a lifetime of human experiences. Alarms blared. The medical team rushed to stabilize them, but the neural entanglement had gone far beyond their expectations. Harry tried to speak, but Rosa's words came out of his mouth. Their thoughts, memories, and sensations had become hopelessly intertwined. The incident sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The IAI suspended all hybridization experiments, and Harry and Rosa were moved to a specialized medical unit. As Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly to untangle their consciousnesses, debates raged about the future of hybrid research. Days blurred together as Harry and Rosa struggled to make sense of their new reality. They communicated in a mixture of human and Hazari language, their identities fluctuating from moment to moment. Their unique condition, however, soon proved to have unexpected benefits. When Admiral Zhang visited to brief them on a developing purist threat, Harry and Rosa found they could process and analyze the information at an unprecedented speed. "It's like our minds are working in parallel," Harry explained, his words overlapping with Rosa's. "We can see patterns, make connections faster than ever before." Zhang nodded, his expression grave. "We'll need every advantage. Our intelligence suggests the purists are planning a major attack on the IAI. They see this place as the ultimate threat to their vision of species purity." As Zhang mobilized a joint human Hazari defense force, Harry and Rosa became a crucial part of the strategic planning. From their medical unit, they provided insights that helped anticipate and counter the purist moves. The attack, when it came, was swift and brutal. The purists employed advanced weaponry and a new bioweapon targeting hybrid physiology. From their room, Harry and Rosa could hear the sounds of battle, feel the tremors of explosions. "We need to be out there," Harry said, Rosa's perseverance flowing through him. They pleaded with Dr. Chen, arguing that their enhanced abilities could turn the tide. Reluctantly, she agreed. As they stepped out of the medical unit, Harry and Rosa moved with perfect synchronization, their shared consciousness allowing them to coordinate their actions flawlessly. They joined the fray, their hybrid abilities amplified by their neural link. They anticipated attacks before they happened, communicated complex strategies with mere glances. Under their guidance, the defense force began to push back against the purist onslaught. But the strain of combat took its toll. Harry felt his sense of self beginning to blur, Rosa's alien thought patterns becoming indistinguishable from his own. They pushed on, knowing that the fate of the IAI, and perhaps the future of human-Hazari relations, hung in the balance. As they fought their way through the chaos, a figure emerged from the smoke, a human-Hazari hybrid, his features twisted with rage and disgust. The purist leader. "Abominations!" he snarled, raising a weapon that pulsed with ominous energy. "You represent everything we've fought against, everything we've sacrificed to prevent." Harry and Rosa faced him. Together, their merged minds racing to find a solution. As the purist leader launched his attack, they realized that to defeat him, they might have to push their neural link even further, risking the complete loss of their individual identities. The choice before them was clear: sacrifice who they were to save what they believed in, or retreat and watch as their dream of a shared future crumbled. With a shared thought, they made their decision, and stepped forward to meet their fate. Destiny. As one, Harry and Rosa channeled their combined hybrid abilities, pushing their neural link to its absolute limit. Their merged consciousness expanded, processing information at an unprecedented rate as they faced the purest leader. The world around them seemed to slow, each moment stretching into eternity. They anticipated the leader's every move, their bodies reacting with inhuman speed and precision. The purest weapon discharged, unleashing a wave of energy that threatened to tear apart their hybrid physiology. But Harry and Rosa were ready. They moved in perfect synchronization, their hands weaving complex patterns in the air. The energy from the weapon warped and twisted, redirected by their combined power. The purest leader's eyes widened in shock as his own attack engulfed him. In the aftermath of the battle, Harry and Rosa stood victorious but at a terrible cost. Their minds, once distinct, now blurred together like watercolors on wet canvas. They staggered, overwhelmed by the cascade of memories and sensations that were no longer their own. Dr. Chen rushed to their side, her face etched with concern. "We need to get them to the medical bay immediately," she barked to her team. "Their neural patterns are destabilizing rapidly." As they were rushed through the corridors of the IAI, Harry and Rosa clung to each other, their shared consciousness a whirlpool of human and Hazari thoughts. They could no longer distinguish whose memories belonged to whom, their individual identities slipping away with each passing second. The medical team worked frantically, hooking them up to an array of machines designed to monitor and stabilize their neural activity. Dr. Chen's fingers flew over holographic displays, her brow furrowed in concentration as she analyzed the data streaming in. "Their neural entanglement has reached a critical point," she announced, her voice tight with worry. "If we don't act now, we might lose them both." With practiced efficiency, the medical team prepared a specialized stasis chamber. Its interior glowed with a soft blue light, filled with a nutrient-rich gel designed to support and protect their hybrid physiology. As Harry and Rosa were lowered into the chamber, their eyes locked. In that moment, they shared a final coherent thought, a mixture of fear, hope, and unwavering trust in each other. Then the gel enveloped them, and their world faded to darkness. Outside the IAI, news of the attack spread like wildfire. Footage of Harry and Rosa's heroic stand against the Purists, captured by security cameras, was broadcast across Earth and Hazari territories. The sight of a human Hazari hybrid leading the Purist forces sent shockwaves through both societies, forcing a collective reevaluation of long-held beliefs about species purity. Admiral Zhang stood before a joint session of the United Earth Government and Hazari High Council, his voice resonating through the chamber. "The events at the IAI have made one thing clear. The threat posed by the Purists endangers not just one species, but both of our civilizations. We must unite in the face of this common enemy." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, human and Hazari alike, as heated debates broke out. But as the gravity of the situation sank in, a consensus began to form. By the end of the session, a state of emergency was declared, and a new joint task force was approved. Project Synthesis. On Europa, Jupiter's icy moon, a new facility rose from the frozen landscape. Built in record time through the combined efforts of human and Hazari engineering teams, it housed the most advanced hybridization research laboratories ever constructed. Admiral Zhang and Hazari Captain Zixara stood side by side, overlooking the bustling facility through a reinforced viewport. Zixara's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "This is unprecedented, Admiral. Never before have our species collaborated on such a scale." Zhang nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "Desperate times call for bold measures, Captain. The Purists have forced our hand, but perhaps in doing so, they've pushed us toward a future brighter than we could have imagined." Back on Earth, Dr. Chen worked tirelessly in her lab, surrounded by holographic projections of Harry and Rosa's neural scans. She had developed a groundbreaking procedure to separate their entangled consciousnesses, but the risks were enormous. As she fine-tuned the procedure, a notification flashed on her screen. The latest deep scan of Harry and Rosa's neural patterns had revealed something extraordinary. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she analyzed the data, her heart racing with excitement and trepidation. "This is impossible," she whispered, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns displayed before her. The merged consciousness of Harry and Rosa had begun generating entirely new neural pathways, a hybrid form of cognition that was neither fully human nor fully Hazari. Dr. Chen immediately contacted Admiral Zhang, her voice trembling with the implications of her discovery. "Admiral, we may have stumbled upon something far beyond our initial expectations. These new hybrid thought processes, they could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness itself." As news of this development spread through the ranks of Project Synthesis, a divide began to form. Military strategists saw the potential for creating a new class of hybrid individuals with enhanced cognitive abilities, capable of outmaneuvering the purists on an intellectual battlefield. Others, including Dr. Chen, advocated for caution. The ethical implications of altering Harry and Rosa's minds further were staggering, and the risks to their individual identities were impossible to ignore. As the debate raged on, Dr. Chen found herself under increasing pressure to preserve these new neural pathways during the separation procedure. She stood in her lab, staring at the stasis chamber containing Harry and Rosa, torn between scientific curiosity and her oath to do no harm. With a heavy heart, she began the final preparations for the procedure. As she calibrated her equipment, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Security feeds showed a purist strike force approaching rapidly, their weapons primed for destruction. Dr. Chen's hand hovered over the control panel, the fate of Harry and Rosa hanging in the balance. Outside, the sounds of battle grew closer. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the difficult decisions that lay ahead. The next few hours would determine not only the fate of two individuals, but potentially the future of human-Hazari relations and the very nature of consciousness itself. As the first explosions rocked the facility, Dr. Chen knew that whatever choice she made, nothing would ever be the same again. The alarms blaring through the facility jolted Dr. Chen from her intense focus on the control panel. She looked up, her eyes widening as she saw the security feed showing purist forces advancing rapidly towards the Europa facility. "No, not now," she whispered, her gaze darting between the stasis chamber, containing Harry and Rosa, and the ominous red warning lights flashing across her screens. Admiral Zhang's voice crackled over the intercom, tense and urgent. "All non-essential personnel, evacuate immediately. This is not a drill, I repeat, evacuate immediately." Dr. Chen's hands hovered over the controls, her mind racing. She had mere moments to decide whether to abort the procedure or push forward despite the imminent danger. The neural scans of Harry and Rosa's merged consciousness flickered on the holographic display, the intricate patterns of their hybrid mind pulsing with potential. As the sounds of battle grew closer, Captain Zixara's voice joined the cacophony of alarms and shouted orders. The Hazari officer was coordinating the defense, her bioluminescent patterns flashing rapidly as she issued commands to the mixed human-Hazari security teams. "Deploy synthesis AI defensive protocols," Zixara ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos. "Concentrate fire on the western corridor. Do not let them breach the inner perimeter." Inside the medical bay, Dr. Chen made her decision. With swift, precise movements, she initiated a new sequence on the control panel. The stasis chamber hummed to life, its blue glow intensifying as it began to amplify Harry and Rosa's neural patterns. "I hope I'm not making a terrible mistake," Chen muttered, her fingers flying over the holographic interface as she fine-tuned the procedure. The chamber's cover slid open with a hiss of escaping gases. Harry and Rosa's eyes snapped open in unison, their gaze unfocused, yet alert. They sat up slowly, moving with an eerie synchronization that sent a shiver down Chen's spine. "Harry? Rosa?" Chen asked cautiously, approaching the chamber. "Can you understand me?" Their heads turned towards her, eyes focusing with an intensity that made Chen take an involuntary step back. When they spoke, their voices overlapped in perfect harmony, creating an otherworldly echo. "We understand. We are more than we were," they said, their merged consciousness evident in every word and movement. Before Chen could respond, the medical bay doors burst open. Dr. Elias Vorn stood in the doorway, his face twisted in a snarl of hatred and disgust. The once human scientist had undergone a grotesque transformation, his body bulging with unnatural musculature, and his eyes gleaming with an inhuman light. "You've gone too far, Chen," Vorn growled, advancing into the room. "It's time to end this abomination." Harry and Rosa moved as one, stepping between Chen and Vorn. Their merged consciousness processed the threat with lightning speed, drawing on both human intuition and Hazari analytical abilities. "You will not harm her," they said, their voices resonating with power. "Your crusade ends here, Vorn." Vorn lunged forward with superhuman speed, but Harry and Rosa were ready. They dodged his attack with fluid grace, their movements perfectly coordinated. As they fought, their merged mind reached out, tapping into the facility's systems and the synthesis AI. The medical bay became a whirlwind of action. Vorn's enhanced strength and speed were matched by Harry and Rosa's unprecedented coordination and tactical insight. They anticipated his every move, countering with a combination of physical prowess and manipulated environment. Outside, the battle raged through the corridors of the Europa facility. Captain Zixara led the defense with tactical brilliance, her strategies bolstered by the synthesis AI's real-time analysis. Human and Hazari soldiers fought side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of the common enemy. As the conflict reached its peak, Vorn pulled out a small device, his eyes gleaming with manic intensity. "If I can't have victory," he snarled, "I'll settle for mutual destruction." Harry and Rosa's merged consciousness recognized the threat instantly. They reached out with their amplified abilities, forming a temporary link with the synthesis AI. In that moment of connection, they saw the facility as a vast network of interconnected systems and made their move. As Vorn activated the electromagnetic pulse device, Harry and Rosa channeled the energy through their hybrid physiology. The pulse arced through the air, but instead of destroying the facility's systems, it was redirected and contained. The effort left Harry and Rosa gasping, their merged forms swaying as the strain of their actions took its toll. Vorn, seeing his impossible risk fail, let out a roar of frustration and charged at them one last time. With their last reserves of strength, Harry and Rosa sidestepped Vorn's attack, using his momentum to send him crashing into the now empty stasis chamber. The impact knocked him unconscious, ending the immediate threat. As the sounds of battle outside began to fade, signaling the purest retreat, Harry and Rosa collapsed to the floor. Their merged consciousness, pushed beyond its limits, began to fracture and destabilize. Dr. Chen rushed to their side, her face pale with concern as she scanned their vital signs. "Their neural patterns are breaking down," she announced, her voice tight with urgency. "We need to stabilize them immediately." Admiral Zhang and Captain Zixara entered the medical bay, their expressions grim as they took in the scene. Chen looked up at them, her mind racing through possible solutions. "There might be a way," she said, her eyes darting to the humming servers that house the synthesis AI. "But it's risky, and we don't have much time to debate." As Chen began to explain her radical proposal, the fate of Harry and Rosa hung in the balance, their merged consciousness teetering on the brink of oblivion. The next few moments would determine not just their future, but potentially the course of human-Hazari relations and the very nature of consciousness itself. Dr. Chen's eyes darted between the unconscious forms of Harry and Rosa and the humming servers housing the synthesis AI. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she was about to propose. "We need to transfer their merged consciousness into the synthesis AI," she said, her voice steady despite the enormity of her suggestion. "It's the only way to stabilize their neural patterns and prevent complete collapse." Admiral Zhang's brow furrowed. "Is that even possible?" Captain Zixara's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with intrigue. "The risks are significant, but the potential—" Chen nodded, already moving towards her workstation. "It's unprecedented, but so is their current state. The synthesis AI has the processing power and adaptability to house their hybrid consciousness." With no time to waste, Chen initiated the transfer procedure. The medical bay hummed with energy as data streams flowed between Harry and Rosa's prone forms and the synthesis AI's core processors. Holographic displays flickered with complex neural patterns, merging and reforming in real time. Tense minutes passed as the transfer progressed. Suddenly, the displays stabilized, and a new consciousness awakened within the digital realm of the synthesis AI. Within this vast digital expanse, Harry and Rosa's merged entity stirred. Their awareness spread through the system, interfacing with the AI's databases and processing capabilities. It was a sensation beyond description, the melding of human intuition, Hazari analytical prowess, and the raw computational power of artificial intelligence. As their digital consciousness stabilized, they discovered an ability to project holographic avatars. A shimmering form materialized in the medical bay, a perfect blend of Harry and Rosa's features. The avatar's eyes opened, taking in the astonished faces of Chen, Zhang, and Zixara. "We are here," the avatar spoke, its voice a harmonic blend of Harry and Rosa's. "This experience is extraordinary." Chen approached cautiously, her scanner raised. "Harry? Rosa? Can you understand me?" The avatar nodded, its movements fluid and natural. "We are them, but we are also more. We have access to vast stores of both human and Hazari knowledge. We see possibilities." Admiral Zhang stepped forward, his expression a mix of awe and concern. "What kind of possibilities?" The avatar's eyes seemed to look beyond the confines of the room. "We see a path forward, a way to bridge the gap between humans and Hazari, to demonstrate the true potential of hybridization." As the avatar spoke, alerts flashed on the facility's communication screens. Admiral Zhang's attention was drawn to an incoming transmission. "It's from the diplomatic summit," he announced. "They're requesting an update on our progress. The negotiations are at a critical point." The hybrid entity turned to face Zhang, its holographic form shimmering with purpose. "We can help. Allow us to present our perspective to the summit. We embody the very integration they fear and desire. Who better to address their concerns?" Captain Zixara's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with excitement. This could be the breakthrough we need, a living example of successful hybridization. Zhang hesitated, weighing the potential risks and benefits. After a moment, he nodded. "Very well. Let's give them something they've never seen before." Within hours, the hybrid entity was connected to the summit's communication systems. Delegates from both human and Hazari factions watched in stunned silence as the holographic avatar materialized before them, its form a perfect blend of both species. "Esteemed representatives," the avatar began, its voice resonating with the combined wisdom of its components. "We stand before you as living proof of what can be achieved through the union of our species." The hybrid entity proceeded to outline a comprehensive plan for gradual ethical integration. It proposed a system of voluntary hybridization for specific missions and research purposes, with strict safeguards against forced procedures. The avatar's presentation was a masterpiece of diplomacy, addressing concerns from both sides with insight and empathy. As the summit delegates engaged in heated discussions, Dr. Chen worked tirelessly in her lab. Her fingers flew over holographic interfaces as she developed a method to safely return Harry and Rosa to their physical bodies. "We need to preserve the insights they've gained," she muttered to herself, fine-tuning the neural interface design, "but we also need to restore their individual identities." Days passed as negotiations continued, and Chen refined her procedure. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. The hybrid entity's avatar stood beside the bodies of Harry and Rosa, preparing for the reintegration. "Are you ready?" Chen asked, her hand poised over the activation control. The avatar nodded, its form flickering slightly. "We are. Whatever the outcome, we are grateful for this experience." Chen initiated the procedure. Energy surged through the neural interfaces, and the avatar dissipated into streams of data. Harry and Rosa's bodies jerked as their consciousness began to reintegrate. The process was intense, their minds flooded with shared memories and emotions. Flashes of their merged existence mingled with their individual experiences, creating a tapestry of shared understanding. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Harry and Rosa opened their eyes. They blinked, adjusting to the sensation of being separate individuals once more. Their gazes met, and a spark of recognition passed between them. "Rosa," Harry whispered, his voice hoarse from disuse. "Harry," she replied. her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a mix of relief and lingering connection. As they sat up, supported by Chen and the medical team, the weight of their shared experience settled upon them. They were individuals again, but forever changed by their time as a hybrid entity. Admiral Zhang entered the medical bay, his face etched with both exhaustion and hope. "I hope you're feeling well," he said, addressing Harry and Rosa, "because we have a lot of work ahead of us." Harry and Rosa exchanged a knowing look, their bond evident even without their merged consciousness. "We're ready," Harry said, speaking for both of them. "Good," Zhang nodded. "The summit has reached a preliminary agreement based on your proposal. We're entering a new era of human-Hazari cooperation, and you two are at the center of it." As Harry and Rosa prepared to face their new roles as diplomats and researchers, they knew that their journey was just getting started. The challenges ahead were daunting, but they faced them with a unique understanding of both species and a shared vision for the future. The medical bay doors slid open, revealing a corridor filled with a mix of human and Hazari personnel, all eager to see the outcome of this unprecedented event. Harry and Rosa stood together, ready to take their first steps into a world forever changed by their experience.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.